Hey everybody, Sedge here, and welcome to an exciting Halloween edition of Your Dad's Games. Now let's see, fancy outfit, whip, that can only mean one thing, vampire hunting. That's right, today we're taking a look at one of my favorite series, one of the best series in all of gaming, Castlevania. Wait, what's that? On the Game Boy Color? You mean the Game Boy Advance, right? No. There are no good Castlevania games on the Game Boy Color. Or, no. Well, yes. Today I have the misfortune of reviewing Castlevania The Adventure. But instead of going with the original 1989 version, we're going to be taking a look at the re-release in color. So, at least we can all enjoy my suffering in color. And so it begins. The Konami Collection. I feel bad selecting Castlevania. Alright, well, here we go. As mentioned, this is a re-release. This is from 1999, and they colorized it. And that is the only thing they did. So at least now we can see the slime is green. This is how the original looked. This is how the whole video could have looked if I didn't have access to the obscure colored version. Ah yes, the ropes. Proof that this is actually a climbing gym, rather than Dracula's castle. And eyeballs. One of the few things in this world not made of slime. Well, speaking of slime, here we go. I believe that was a flea man, and this should have been a raven, but for some reason they're slime. It does further reinforce my idea that this is actually not so much a Castlevania game as the work of some imitator who just happened to have a lot of slime lying around. That was the cross, one of the few power-ups available in this game. It makes our plotting protagonist invincible for a little while, which can be really useful. As you can see, his whip is not particularly useful, at least in space form. With one upgrade, it becomes able to kill most things in the game with one hit. Not everything. Second upgrade allows it to shoot a projectile, which is really helpful. And of course, as you can see, the jumps are ponderous at best. Most Castlevanias don't allow movement in the air, and that's fine. You build up your momentum, you jump, it's okay. The problem here is the hitboxes, and a lot of jumps that should have happened don't land. Ah, here we are, the first boss. A suit of armor. As you can see, his attack pattern doesn't really offer much challenge. These things actually become just a random enemy in the last level. Stage 2 brings us some bats. Yep. There's one of those upgrades. And, yes, the weird slime shooter that would have probably been a bone stack in another Castlevania game. They travel in packs. Just always know they're never by themselves, even though they can't move. More of those wonderful falls that might or might not actually be fair. Didn't slow that one down. A lot of them aren't. And there we go, slime stack. Hit a few times as the projectiles do move much quicker than Belmont here. Oh, this is fun. One of the features with this game, to make itself longer, though it doesn't deserve it, if you take the wrong turn in a few rooms, you get to do the exact same room again. Then we have situations like this. If I weren't invisible right here, that eyeball would have hit me, and there would have been no way around it. Slime axe boomerang guy. Very difficult to dodge at the speeds that we have at our disposal. Can't break the axes. And here we go. They actually loved the slime so much, they made it a boss. This is pretty much the whole battle. We just get these little slimy frogs, maybe? Coming out of different holes. Yeah, that was a boss. Level 3. The terror that is auto-scrolling and spikes when your character barely moves. In case y'all can't tell, this has been sped up significantly. You may have heard of the floor is lava. Well, this is a much worse game. Everything is spikes. And you can barely move. Alright, so having survived the Hall of Spikes, and fallen in a pit, and got to do that all over again, now comes the ponderous jumping while climbing, while the floor is somehow drilling up behind you. Auto-scrolling when your character moves this fast is very anxiety-inducing, but it still doesn't lend itself well to gameplay. Also, these slime caterpillars, you can take time to kill them, which gives the floor that much more opportunity to catch up to you, or you can get hit by them and possibly make it. Terrible jumping, costs another life. Just be prepared to replay this level 10, 20, 80 times before finally getting there, because again, the level is much faster than you, and jumps are iffy. See? On top of this, I'm really curious what this would be doing to the castle, if this even is a castle. Oh yeah, one whip on a slime caterpillar just knocks it. It doesn't even destroy it. So if this were an actual castle, as I die probably 3 more times while discussing this would just be completely destroying it. I don't know how much would even be left just after this level. And there's still a whole level to go after this, which is annoying in its own way, but by comparison to the nightmare that is level 3, it's great. I mean, really, this just kind of feels like purgatory. You get to do the same terrible thing over and over. Oh, and then it ends in a gargoyle. Well, not too much to say about that. That's a gargoyle. You know what would make this immensely better? The axe sub-weapon. Now, the final level in the game. So this should be the actual Dracula's castle of the game. We do have slime knights, so that's a little bit different enemy, I guess. Variety late in the game, as it does have only 4 levels. There's one of the terrible axe throwers. Oh yeah, the former boss of level 1. Yep, just kind of one of the guys now. More slime towers, and this! There it is. Yes. Slowed that down to show you the hitbox. Belmont may look small. He's actually about 3 times that size when getting hit, and somehow half the size when making a jump. It's confusing, it's terrible. I don't even know why it happened. I'm not sure why this game was published in this state, except that it was early days for the Game Boy. More of this. Oh, this is regular speed. I know it looks slow-mo, but this is just how fast the game actually is. Yep. So after suffering through all this, we meet Dracula, or I'm just going to say that's some guy cosplaying as Dracula. Had a lot of slime, has the ability to shoot some balls around a room. Yeah. It's next to impossible to beat him unless your whip is fully upgraded, which means if you make it there and you have any damage at all, you're not going to make it. You're going to have to backtrack and get that whip fully upgraded. This is his bat form after you've taken out the vampire form. And all of this has been sped up, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. This is one of the worst Dracula fights. I'll actually argue Dracula X is worse, but this does also have a pit in the bottom that'll kill you instantly, so they do have that in common. And there it is. After all that, Castlevania is destroyed. Collapsing. Yeah, this is your reward. You're just kind of hanging out there with your whip on a little precarious cliff. Good times. Common at the end of Castlevanias. And there it is. You've defeated the Slime Master. Or have you? Oh, no. So how was it? It was bad. Yeah, Castlevania The Adventure is a bad game. And I feel like I'm really underselling that. Castlevania The Adventure is the Castlevania equivalent of Palmer's Chocolate. Yeah, it's called chocolate. Yeah, it's called Castlevania. But it is absolutely the worst possible version of it. You saw the video? The hitboxes. The graphics. The fact that staircases, for some reason, don't exist in this universe. There's just nothing redeeming about this. If you want to play a Castlevania game, there are excellent entries spanning decades. Try out the original. It's a few years older than this, and it's much, much, much better. They know what sub-weapons are. They know what staircases are. It looks good. It sounds good. It's one of the best games on the NES. Give that a try. Really, I mean, pick one of the Game Boy Advance games, go for a DS game, go for any of the great re-releases that have come out in recent years. All the Castlevania collections, can't go wrong. Just steer clear of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color entries. Spare yourself the suffering. Honestly, this game should take around half an hour if you can get through it without dying. I spent over 4 hours on this because everything about it is just designed to kill you in the worst ways. I mean, okay, Castlevania is meant to be hard. You're supposed to die a few times while playing it. That's fine, as long as it's fair. And this just isn't. Chris Belmont walks like he's been glued to the floor. Like, it's like wearing lead boots wading through pudding. It's terrible. Everything around you is faster. Everything around you is made out of slime. Inexplicable. I mean, I guess it takes less processing power, but it just doesn't look good. The iconic enemies aren't there. Your Belmont is absolutely the worst possible version. No sub-weapons. No stairs. I mean, Castlevania stairs are kind of a mixed bag, but still, they're better than the weird rope situation. Honestly, an all-powerful Dark Lord is not going to say, huh, you know what would make this castle better? Tear out every staircase and replace it with ropes. Yeah. Yeah, have you seen the zombie climb a rope? No, it doesn't work. And honestly, the Game Boy is just not the right platform for a Castlevania game. Game Boy Advance? Yes, awesome. DS? Sure. Literally any system after the NES? Yes. Let's just stay away from the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. As always, thanks for watching. And remember, these ain't your granddad's games. They're your dad's.